Hi, I'm Steve Nadd from Magrax Motorcycle Freedom. We're here at Daytona Bike Week 2003, and you know, you never know what you're going to find out here on Main Street, like this amazing 1930 original Harley-Davidson, nicknamed Krusty, appropriately so. Come with us now as we check out all the sights and sounds of Bike Week 2003.
I've seen about 20 bike weeks myself. It used to be about a 4-day event. We'd attract about 50,000 bikers per se. Now we attract about 500,000 bikers a year. Of the bikers themselves, I mean, hey, they're great people. Love to come out here and just people watch. You'll find every personality in the world here on Main Street. There are people from all over the world, and it's fun to come by and see them.
You see all these bikes here that are just perfect, sparkly, there isn't one problem with them, and you have a bike that kind of goes the other way. Tell me about your machine.
That's a 1930 Harley. When I was 16, I tried to buy it from this old buck in my town. That was 1970. It was always too much money, and then in 95, his son sold it to me. And it's like everybody's old girlfriend in my town. Everybody wanted to buy the bike. So I didn't change it. I left it just like it was because they see it and they run up to it and they want to hug it like their old girlfriend, you know.
Well, that's great. It's sort of like the town mascot in a way.
Yeah, I ride it all the time. I've ridden it about 30,000 miles. I got a little motorcycle shop in my hometown. We have a great time with it. It smokes, it rattles, it sprays oil over all my friends. I love it, you know.
It is the king of the rat bikes. There's no question there.
Yeah, it works good, yep.
All right, this is a really beautifully customized Roadstar. You're Leo, right, from New Jersey?
That's right.
This is Leo from New Jersey.
But the truth is, it's really not my bike. This is my bike. This is my wife's bike.
So tell me about how you guys got these beautiful machines down here.
Basically, we had a hauler come down from Massachusetts, pick up the bikes, and we did the civilized thing. We flew.
We have the largest hog chapter in Germany, and we're comprised of American military, retired, and active military soldiers, and some Germans.
Is it a positive thing when you guys are riding down the road, or do you feel like, oh, here come those American guys again?
No, it's great. It's great. The Germans, the Europeans embrace hog and Harley riders. If you ride a Harley, you're someone special over there. It's great. It's a great feeling.
That's great. Have you been to Bike Week here before?
I'm from Daytona. Daytona's my home.
Amazing.
Born and raised right here in Daytona.
So from Daytona to Germany and back to Daytona.
Right.
Have you been to Bike Week before?
Yeah, it's my 3rd year. You know, it's Florida, it's wintertime, there's snow on the ground back home. Get to come down and, you know, get the bike out, see some crazy people, do some drinking, everybody else. Just have fun, dude. It's all about the fun.
Did you paint it yourself, or you'd have that done?
No, it was done. It's all done. Yeah, like I say, I did it myself.
You could lie. How would we know? You could just
Of course I
pretend.
did it myself. Kidding me? Look at this thing. Of course I did it.
Tell me about how you feel being a guy on a Ducati in this sea of American V-twins.
Hey, you know, it's all just a brotherhood, man. You know, we're all on 2 wheels. You know, everybody knows what it's like to be on the road.
All right, the word is cojones. I just met this man here. We rode all the way down here from Minnesota. What were you saying, ice storm?
St. Paul, Minnesota ice storm. 5 below zero when I started. I had 4 guys behind me in a truck and trailer, and they didn't believe I do it, and I did it all the way down here.
Do you have like electric vests, or how did you keep from freezing to death?
2 pair of long underwear, jeans, chaps, and 2 leather jackets. It's freedom and fun.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Hi. Look around here. Take a moment. What do you think?
Unbelievable. It's hard to take in. My neck hurts from looking at all the women, you know? I mean, I'm on this, and I'm over there, and I'm over here, and I'm over there. And he's grabbing me. Yo, look at that, look at this. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Right, and because of that, you haven't actually noticed any of the really cool motorcycles that are here, have you?
Motorcycles? What motorcycles?
What's your name?
My name's Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Where are you from?
Connecticut.
And what are you doing down here at Bike Week?
Having a blast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you ride down from Connecticut? You must have been freezing.
It's a little nippy.
All right, well, but you know, you're tough, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, have a great week. Ride safe. All right, cool.
Take care.
You meet the nicest people at Bike Week. Wouldn't it be great if real life was like this, where everywhere you went, half the vehicles on the road or more were motorcycles? I mean, look at this. It's bike, car. Bike, car. God, I wish it was really like this.
And the core action isn't just on Main Street.
A short ride across the causeway brings you to Beach Street. It's filled with people and vendors and is home to Daytona Harley-Davidson and the famous Carl's Speed Shop. Even the local car dealerships are overrun with motorcycles. Bike Week, when it started, what was it, 62 years ago, it didn't really begin just as a big party. It began around the racing. Guys used to run 2.5 miles down this beach, have a quarter-mile turn, and run 2.5 miles down the paved road, which is now called Atlantic Avenue, or the A1A, back up this way. Then they'd turn another quarter-mile turn and come flying back down this way again, kind of pounding along and slopping around in the sand. You get out here, you get the motor down the beach, and you get to have a sense of that history. And the fun doesn't stop when the sun goes down. The whole area is covered with roadside attractions that are more like moto theme parks than just plain bars. There's Gilley's Pub 44, and just down the road, the famous Iron Horse Saloon. The festivities feature a split-level burnout pit, a big bandstand, and the ever-popular Wall of Death.
So Wall of Death, the Motordrome, they've been around since the early 1900s. This particular barrel was built in 1963 by a man named Pappy Boudreaux. This is the last of 3 he built. An old-fashioned form of motorcycle entertainment that's been around for a long time. Our father has owned this one here for the past 20 years. I've been around since I was about 6, 7 years old. It's no big deal anymore, you know, it takes a little practice. The hardest part is learning, of course, you know. But once you learn it and you do it enough times, it just becomes natural. We still get dizzy now and then. I have gone down a couple times, a couple scars on the walls from it. You just gotta keep up on your equipment and make sure everything's in tip-top shape. So we just like to do it. We have a good time doing it. We get to go to all these big bike events and work it and get to visit every single one, so we have a good time.
One of the few officially sanctioned cocktail parties at Bike Week was the AMA's Evening of Heroes, a get-together designed to commemorate the AMA Museum's new installation honoring all the Harley racing greats of the past 100 years.
Tonight is the Evening of Heroes event, which is just an opportunity we're taking during Bike Week to expose the whole Heroes of Harley-Davidson exhibit that we have at the Motorcycle Hall of Fame Museum in Ohio. To people who are down here at Bike Week, just kind of really kick the whole thing off. My dad, you know, he started coming here in the 40s, and I've been here just about every year since the 60s, so it's been something it's just part of my life.
Among the other Moto Glitterati in attendance, the Davidson family, who donated a 2003 Heritage Softail Springer for auction.
The AMA has been an important association with motorcycling for many, many years. Motorcycling will continue, and people will, if they really get hooked, they're going to dig back into the history.
I've read a lot about the history of racing and what these guys did, the equipment they had and the conditions they had and how they made a go of it. They are truly heroes.
Eric Buell, the man with the growing namesake brand, was among the honorees as well. You're here because Buell's part of the Harley family. Can you imagine a time where there's this long, wonderful arc of racing greats with, you know, running on your motorcycles?
Well, I can sure hope so. You know, it's kind of funny. You just, all of a sudden, 20 years have gone by. But, you know, this really puts it in perspective, seeing, you know, the 100 years and talking about the heritage and actually seeing guys in here like Dick Mann and Dick Clamford, who I was thinking, I mean, legendary guys. And all of a sudden you say, hey, you know, this is happening. I can see now, you know, a future because you've been around it long enough that it, you know, there's a lot of that I've experienced.
At an event like this, I was supposed to be wearing my journalist hat, but, you know, I'm a big fan, too. Here's a Sharpie, man. Will you sign my hat?
Okay, I'll try this, but we better not have the camera on it because I might spell it wrong. You know, I am an engineer.
03.
All right.
And we're famous for not being able to do this.
There's 2 L's at the end.
Yeah, geez, let me get that back.
All right, thanks a lot. That's cool. Thanks so much. The next morning, hundreds of people showed up to ride in remembrance of fallen soldiers in Vietnam.
We have a gathering of people that ride motorcycles to express their total tribute to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam and those who served this country from the past to the present. This patch will be flown until there's no more of us, so society will never forget about Vietnam.
Try to be out here and support all the vets and just get a chance to see the wall and really enjoy the camaraderie of a bunch of us together. I think it's just a matter of the freedom of the open road, and they fought for our freedom, and now they're enjoying theirs. So, you know, I'd like to think that's what it's all about.
The best part of Bike Week is the fact that you're always surrounded by lots and lots of other motorcyclists. I mean, most of the time, we're in the minority. You know, it's like you're just out there by yourself against all the box jockeys. But out here, there's bikes everywhere. We own this town during Bike Week. So you owe it to yourself at least once in your life to make it here during Bike Week and just be part of all that's going on. Help make the scene your own. For Magrax Motorcycle Freedom, I'm Steve Natt.
You'll find plenty of other pleasures here on Magrac, an exciting on-demand service that explores your passions and interests, from classic cars and...
Hey, I'm Steve Natt in Daytona Beach, Florida for Bike Week 2003. You know, every year for the last 62 years now, we motorcyclists have made a pilgrimage down here and kind of taken this whole area of Florida over. So whether you're coming down here to just cruise up and down Main Street, hang out and check all these cool bikes out, or you're down here for all the myriad racing events, or you're showing up just to sort of be part of this great scene, there's a ton of stuff to do, and that's why we're here for Magrac's big Spring On Demand special, all happening right now on Motorcycle Freedom.
It attract about 50,000 bikers per se. Now we attract about 500,000 bikers a year.
You see all these bikes here that are just perfect, sparkly, there isn't one problem with them, and you have a bike that kind of goes the other way. Tell me about your machine.
That's a 1930 Harley.
There's lots more of the sights and sounds of Bike Week available in the full-length Motorcycle Freedom segment right now as part of your Magrac Video On Demand service. Plus, want to get your bike on track for this year's riding season? Just select our comprehensive spring maintenance piece.
It gets to the point where, is it worth fixing?
And as we continue, some of the great new bike demo rides we took for you. Oh yeah, it's all part of Motorcycle Freedom's Spring On Demand special. All right, one of my favorite things about Bike Week, which is where we are right now in Daytona Beach 2003, is the demo rides. All the manufacturers bring their latest bikes out here. They set up camp all the way around the International Speedway, and they let just anyone come down and try out their latest machines. Right now, we're ready to get going on a brand new BMW. So come on and ride with us. We're going to check out a bunch of new bikes. It should be really fun.
It is a supervised ride, although some of the vendors have unsupervised rides where they just give you the motorcycle and there's a marked route.
Well, we took a ride through a country road, nice curving road, and there was minimal traffic to be contending with. And then we stopped at an area where I demonstrated the ABS on a dry surface and on a wet surface. And it's a quite dramatic thing to see.
Of all the BMWs to choose from, I picked the K1200 GT because it's brand new. This has a really comfortable seat. Really soft, really wide, really great ergonomic position. Set up a little more softly than I would like it in the rear. I'd probably want to dial a little more rear, spring preload, maybe a little bit more damping. But that's adjustable. You can do that yourself. One of the features they brought down from the big touring models as they rebuilt this bike to bring it up from the K1200 RS into more of a touring bike is this adjustable windscreen. Now it's in its lowest position. I don't know if you can hear the wind hitting me in the face, but if I raise it up, really makes that air pocket a lot more quiet. Of course, that'll be warmer on a cold day. On a day like today where you want that wind blowing at you, you just bring it down a little bit and it cools you off. It's a nice way to customize your bike electronically as you ride.
There's nothing like coming down here and seeing all the different brands of motorcycles and having the opportunity to ride them all while you're here too.
Here at Daytona doing demo rides, we have actually 90 motorcycles back here, all these 2003 Harley-Davidson motorcycles, so that we can let our customers, and people who aren't our customers, try our motorcycles and see, what model fits them, what model suits them, what might they want next, and what next dream do they want to fulfill. And so that's what we're doing right here in demos, and actually we'll do 4,000 demo rides here at Daytona this week.
I hadn't ridden a V-Rod and I wanted to see what it was like. Handles well, very fast, moves well. Would like to have it on a dry day on my own where I could let it go.
I think the other Harleys are a lot prettier and, nostalgia and everything, but the V-Rod really cranks, and I think that's what Harley really needed. I can't believe Harley-Davidson lets us come out here and do this. It feels like I'm doing something illegal.
We have a neat way of doing rides out here. We actually set the consumer up on the bike and allow him to take the bike out and ride the demo course, so he gets to experience our product on his terms. So it works pretty well. We've had some great feedback.
I've bought like 7 new bikes in 3 years, and I just haven't found that one yet. But I really, really love Harley-Davidson. But there's a mystique about the Indian. It just has to have that feel. You won't know till you're on. You can feel it in the first block or something. You know what it's like.
All right, so check this out. Indian has hooked it up so I can ride this new Scout. Now, this is what they're doing here is they take a base model Scout and they get Big Mike from Big Mike's Choppers up in Oregon to give this the full treatment. A base model Scout's around 17. This thing runs up to about, 25 grand all in when you get all this stuff done. But let me show you what they've done. Beefed up the motor, and then back here they've got this really wonderful 240 section rear tire. This big fat Metzler on the back, custom chrome rims. All right, around over here you can see they've got a custom air cleaner, forward controls. The bike's been lowered a little bit. All in all, it looks like a custom sort of quasi chopper, but they're gonna let me ride it, and I think it's gonna sound a little different than your stock Indian. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, listen to that. A lot of the bikes with these big fat rear tires, they don't really engineer them very well. They take a bike that's designed to run on a much narrower tire, like maybe like a 180, and you just bolt on a 240 and all of a sudden the bike won't turn, won't handle. This one, they figured it out really nicely. They got the geometry working well, so it turns really well. I was kind of surprised. A really sweet street bike.
Every manufacturer represented in Daytona, this was just a small sample of the wide variety of bikes we got to see and ride.
So as the sun sets here on beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida, our Spring On Demand special from Bike Week 2003 is unfortunately coming to an end. I mean, we tried to show you some of the coolest things that have happened here. We tried to give you some tips about how to get your bike ready for this year's riding season. And we got to demo some really neat new bikes that are always available at the demo rides they have here in Daytona. All in all, I think one of the best things for me, though, is riding this Harley up and down the beach. You're supposed to quit at sunset, but man, I just want to keep going. Anyway, have a great riding season this year. For Magrax Motorcycle Freedom, I'm Steve Natt. All right, I'm going to keep going. See ya.
You'll find plenty.
Daytona Bike Week is huge. 700,000 people. You get 700,000 exposures. We do approximately 100 demo rides a day. It's a great place to meet a lot of new people, give a lot of people the Victory experience, give them a chance to ride our bike, see what it's all about.
What'd you think of it?
It was a great bike.
Tell me what you mean.
Yeah, it handled well, rode well, had a lot of pep.
All right, so are you a dyed-in-the-wool Harley guy?
I like these Victories. I don't know if I'm ready to jump yet or not, but yeah, it's a nice bike.
The Vegas is a brand new model, redesigned from the ground up, 2 inches lower in seat height, raked out front end, 21-inch front wheel, forward controls, exactly what our customer's been asking for. Styling's killer, smooth flowing lines, just an awesome bike. You can go into any Victory dealer, custom order your bike, we'll build it for you at the factory.
One bike that's not on the factory menu is this Slammin' one-off custom, built by a former Victory employee. From the wheels and brakes to the handmade pipes and other parts, it's pure eye candy. But that's not all.
The key to this machine's right here. This nasty little silver bottle filled with nitrous oxide. Hit the blow and watch it go. This thing makes about 106 horsepower at the rear wheel, and unfortunately, it's not part of their demo fleet. Oh well.
Well, the Boss Hoss it's a V8 Chevy powered motorcycle.
We'll start it up, get ready to go, hold your brake. It's 2 forward gears.
You ever ridden anything this big before?
No, not quite this big.
Are you a little scared right now?
No.
Oh, come on, a little bit.
No, not at all.
It's damn near 400 horsepower.
I'm ready for it.
It's an extremely smooth, vibration-free ride. I like to compare it as kind of a cross between a cruiser-style motorcycle, a luxury touring bike, and a street bike. The bikes, as you see, they're quite large and they can be intimidating, but they're really a pretty docile bike. It's easy to handle, and the bike speaks for itself.
What'd you think?
It's a good ride. It handles good. Really good balance to it.
Amazing. I mean, you look at this thing and it looks like it's bigger than Shaq. It's amazing you'd say something like that.
You got to ride one.
Man, this thing is just gigantic. I mean, there is nothing subtle about this motorcycle.
The first thing you feel when mounted on the Boss Hoss is small. I mean, really, don't I look like some little kid who climbed up on a neighbor's adult-sized bike without permission? But miraculously, once underway, this half-ton behemoth acquits itself reasonably well. Of course, that V8 motor is the real star of this $35,000 show, and it's impossible to keep from whacking that throttle all the time.
Survived the trip on the Boss Hoss. What'd you think?
It's fantastic. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. It met all my expectations. Nothing like it whatsoever.
So if you didn't make it to Bike Week this year to get a chance to ride all the new models, try to get yourself to Sturgis or one of the other big events. It's a great way to check out all the brands to see which machine is right for you. For Magrax Motorcycle Freedom, I'm Steve Nat.
You'll find plenty of
Certainly the first thing you notice when you come down to Bike Week is that you're always surrounded by a sea of motorcycles. Now, a lot of these bikes were trailered down here, and some of them were ridden. But if you haven't gotten your bike out of mothballs for this year's riding season, we've pulled together some maintenance tips that we think can help you get your bike on the road quickly and safely. Can you tell me what you did to get your bike ready to ride here at Bike Week?
I changed the front end, put a new front end on it.
Oil change, that's all I did.
I don't, nothing.
What I do to get it ready, strapped her down.
Change the oil and spark plug, that's it.
Some bikes need major work, others just a little bit of TLC. So if you weren't in the crowd at Bike Week, or maybe you just haven't gotten your machine on the road yet for spring in your area, we thought we'd help. Now, before we came to Daytona, we checked in at Orange County Motorsports in Southern California, where Mickey Cullen and his team are going to help us help you make your bike as reliable as possible for that first big ride.
First specimen here, Mickey. What do we got here?
1984, it looks like. GS 550 ES.
The venerable 550 ES. So this bike has certainly seen better days, but it says on the odometer 9,000 miles. I think most of those must have been underwater. Look at this thing.
This was a popular motorcycle, though. It sold quite a few of them in its day.
Yeah, it's a good, reliable bike. All right, so it runs. I mean, there's a start there, right?
This is true.
Okay, so why couldn't you just take this bike and hop on it and head off where you need to go?
Well, let's just take a look at it.
Okay. Well, all right. But I mean, other than the fact that it's sort of physically ugly, what do you need to do to this motorcycle to make sure that it's roadworthy to take a trip on?
I think the first thing you should start with is, brakes, chains, the basic simple stuff, batteries, chains, brakes.
But beyond that, with just safety stuff, I mean, look, the brake lever's busted, it doesn't have turn signals. I can feel the forks are just pure mush. I mean, there's no resistance there at all. And from the backside, I was looking at this before we rolled it in, it looks like the rear tire is kind of aimed to the left, almost like the swing arm or the frame is bent.
This normally means that the bike was in an accident, and physically looking at the motorcycle, looks like it was in an accident.
Right. Or maybe several.
Maybe several, yes.
But the engine internals, I mean, just by the sound of it, it sounds like it's kind of running okay to me.
It doesn't sound like it has a rod knock right now, but obviously before you went and spent a bunch of money on that kind of stuff, we'd want to see if the engine is any good.
At a certain point, you have to look at the value of the motorcycle against the cost of all those repairs. Let's say there's something to fix at each level. This could get really expensive, couldn't it?
Sure, it could. It gets to the point where, is it worth fixing?
Right.
Or do we just buy another motorcycle?
So this is a nice display. What do we got going here?
Here's some parts that we took off a motorcycle. This is a rear caliper, and a description of this would be, this is a 2-piston caliper. It has 2 pistons on it, one on each side. The pistons are their job is to come in and out as you squeeze the brake lever. When you release the brake lever, they retract.
Right, or supposedly they retract.
Supposedly they retract, right? Yes.
All right. So what happens on an old caliper like that? What can happen, right? Is you get stuff in the seals? Is that what happens?
Yeah, stuff gets into the seals and actually gets embedded on the piston itself, and it gets stuck as it goes in.
Right. That's bad news.
Yeah, it is bad news.
Okay, and then this one, what's up with this one?
This is a single piston. We pulled this out for a pretty good example. This is an actual seized piston.
So if you have a caliper that's all filthy and the piston's kind of hanging up a little bit, you really got to do some maintenance on that before it gets to the point where it seizes, right?
Correct, before it actually eats the piston itself has a chrome base to it.
Right.
And if the chrome gets wrecked, it won't allow it to go in and out of the seal.
All right, and here's some pads from the different kinds of bikes. Wow, look at this one, it's totally worn out.
It's due for replacement. As you can see, they have a wear indicator similar to a tire.
Right.
Where they actually have grooves in them. You want to replace them before it gets to this.
Okay, because what happened here?
Well, this particular pad got low enough that it actually dragged on the rotor itself into the metal.
Okay, so that's not safe. So if you got pads that look like this, you need to renew those. And this is what, like a beat up rotor?
Yeah, this is like an old rotor. It's still fairly good.
But there's little waves that match these little grooves here, as it didn't wear evenly, high and low spots.
This is normal though. Over time, motorcycles will get these grooves in them. It
Okay.
is normal. The manufacturers of each motorcycle have a tolerance for how thick these can be.
Right.
If it gets underneath that tolerance, the rotor needs to be replaced.
And what do we have over here? This looks like drive pulleys for a belt drive motorcycle.
Correct.
Okay, and what's up with this one?
This is actually a good drive pulley.
But it's used. I can see the edges are a little bit kind of chewed up.
Right. This is a way you can test or actually inspect a drive pulley on a belt-driven motorcycle. Recommendation on most belt drive bikes is 30,000 miles to replace the belt and the sprockets.
Got it. Okay.
If it were to wear out earlier, obviously you change them earlier. But you can do it by physically just looking at it. You don't have to take them off the motorcycle.
Okay. And then what's up with this one?
This is one that a consumer actually replaced a belt on his own.
Whoops.
And a tire. And on this particular model, he had to take the belt, the sprocket off to replace the tire. So as he put the sprocket back on himself, he didn't torque these bolts to what the manufacturer recommended. And this basically broke all 5 bolts off and left him stranded on the side of the road.
Do-it-yourselfers, pay attention here. You're going to do something like this yourself, you got to do it right. Because it could have actually been more dangerous than just leaving him stranded, couldn't it have?
Yes.
This thing came off while he was riding. And over here we have a grotty old nasty chain off of some old bike. It's like a 530, right?
Right.
Yeah. You can ride a chain like this for a long time. It's just dirty, right?
No, that chain's pretty much too dirty.
Oh, okay. So what do you do to it? You just spray a bunch of WD-40 and wipe it down?
That particular chain needs to be replaced. And
Okay.
no, we never want to use WD-40 on a chain.
Really? A lot of guys do that. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
WD-40 does not work well with rubber.
Ah, and you got rubber O-rings.
Got a rubber O-ring chain.
Okay.
Chain like this, you can pretty much see right here, there's a big kink right here.
Right.
That means the rollers are stuck. Cleaning it's not going to fix it. Well, why don't we take a walk over here, and I got some carburetors I can show you with some fuel stuff too.
Excellent. Let's go. All right, here we go. Fuel parts, carburetors, and this is a
petcock.
A petcock, exactly.
If these go bad, most of the time they'll leak considerably. They'll just leak as soon as you take the hose off. Only if it has a vacuum type petcock, which has a little hose on it.
This one has that?
Correct.
Okay, so that can be something to look for also. And that's a pretty easy thing to fix. You can just take that apart and put it in a new diaphragm. Anybody can do that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's just 4 screws. And all right, in these carburetors, what can happen here? What do you think? Should people take their own carburetors apart and do carburetor rebuilds like in their bathroom sink and stuff?
No.
No. Mickey says no. Why not, Mickey?
There's a lot of little parts in there that if they're not cleaned, it won't work.
Right.
And if they are cleaned and you put them in the wrong place, they won't work.
And over here we've got some electrical parts.
This is actually a pickup. On modern motorcycles, most of the old motorcycles have points. New motorcycles have pickups. And this is actually a trigger. These can go bad.
All right.
If there's one pickup and you have a 4-cylinder motorcycle and it has no spark, most likely it is this.
So that's something, if you go to start the bike that's been sitting for a long time and it won't fire up, but you've got fuel flowing, let's say, your carburetors are good, this could be the problem, because without spark, there's no fire. Critical part, the rubber meets the road. Tires. What's the first thing guys should look for when it comes to a set of tires? Like, let's say they're getting a bike that's used, or they're borrowing a bike for a trip from someone. What should they look for first?
It has the correct size on it. Most people, a lot of people, feel that the bigger the tire, the more traction it has, which is not correct. The tire needs to fit the size of the rim.
Got it. So if you put on a tire that's too fat for the rim, it'll pinch the bead in a little bit. It'll cause the actual tread to cup out more, right?
Right, and the tire actually won't be any bigger than the one that was on it.
Right, it'll just curve around more.
It'll curve around more, but if you actually put the tire size it's supposed to be on, the tire will actually physically look bigger. They just have a smaller number on the side.
Right, I see. So you got a better contact patch that way. What's the next thing we should look for? Just how worn out it is?
How worn out they are, cracks on the sidewalls. This is a motorcycle that was in good shape. The forks were maintained, say, every 12,000 miles.
How can you tell that by looking at the tire?
Because the tire is wore out evenly throughout the whole thing. It doesn't have a lot of cups and ridges, no crowning. This is actually probably a guy that does a lot of canyon riding but doesn't ride real hard. He just goes out on Sunday rides and rides it.
This guy has smoked this tire. Can you see how blue that is?
Yeah.
I mean, this has just been boiled up and cooked. This is probably on a racetrack for like a track day.
Or track day or a very fast canyon rider.
So this is a tire that would need to be replaced.
This is a tire that needs to be replaced.
I think so. All right, but clearly this is a sign this man has had some fun, you know.
Correct.
You can see that written into the tire wall. Okay, so Mickey had to step away to work on another bike for a minute. I see this one here is halfway taken apart. I wanted to show you a couple of things because this is what you want your bike to look like before you get on the road. Check out the rear shock here. It's all nice and shiny. Real important is down in here. You don't see any oil seepage around the damping rod, so you know that this shock, at least integrally, seems to be in good shape. The chain is nice and clean. The spokes are all clean, and you can go through and check each one of those to make sure they have the right spoke tension. There's no rust around the exhaust system. Up in here, the fluid for the rear brake. Look at this reservoir here. It's this nice kind of light yellow, clear looking fluid. If this starts turning brown, it means you're sucking dirt in through the rear brake and you've got a problem and you've got to drain and refill this and then bleed your brakes. Up here you see these rubber boots that connect the carburetor from the airbox to the manifold. These things aren't cracked. There's no brakes, they're not going to leak, and the carb itself seems to be in clean shape. I mean, part of the thing is the bike is clean, and that tells you a lot. But if you clean a bike that's all roached out and been sitting for a long time, the fact that it's clean isn't going to fix it. You'll be able to see the problems that are there and the things that need to be fixed. You look down here where the barrels meet the case, you can see that there's no seepage, you don't have an oil leak, there doesn't seem to be any cracks or any sort of other integral problems here. Up here, the fork tube legs are all nice and smooth and shiny. They're not pitted, they're not going to tear up the fork seals, and there's no leakage or seepage here that you can see. All right, over on this side, what you can see, of course, is the front brake assembly. And what you want to look for in a front brake assembly is you want to look for a nice clean rotor that doesn't have scoring marks. If it looks like one of those old record LPs with lots of grooves in it, chuck it, get a new one. You also want to make sure there's no seepage from around where the fluid comes in, and there's no cracks or breaks in the actual brake line itself that delivers hydraulic fluid to the caliper assembly. These are things you can do visually. You don't have to be a mechanic in order to be able to see, hey, there's something wrong. Go look at a new bike, see the way it's put together, compare it to your bike. If it doesn't match up, take it to a good mechanic if you're not a wrench yourself. All right, let's go check out what Mickey's up to.
After the basic maintenance is done, it's a great idea to get your bike dyno tuned. Because once your carburation or fuel injection system is set up properly by a skilled dyno tuner like Mickey, you'll be sure to get the best performance, the best mileage, and the most reliability. Just ask the owner of this sweet-running 130 horsepower Suzuki Bandit.
Okay, one last quick tip. If you parked your motorcycle for the winter and didn't add fuel stabilizer to your gas tank, chances are you're going to have a varnish buildup or maybe some moisture in your gas. You're going to have to drain that tank and the carb float bowls as well. But whatever kind of bike you ride, whether it's a beater Suzuki like this one, hope not, or it's the latest, coolest Getzy and Bryan Moto Guzzi like this is a bike I'd love to ride home on tonight. Make sure you get your maintenance handled before you head out on the road. And hopefully you can find a good dealer like Mickey Cohn here at Orange County Motorsports to help you out. But wherever the road takes you this riding season, I hope you have a great ride. Keep the rubber side down. For Magrax Motorcycle Freedom,